All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts. The trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. And the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Chaos Hates Clarity, The Iron Remedy, written by Conrad Riker. Available now. Links in description. The West is dying because men are trained to lick the boot that kicks them. How gynocentrism, the lie of female innocence, and the cult of feminist victimhood are slaughtering Western civilization, and the red pill antidote no one dares speak. I was once told by a woman, eyes wide with sanctimony, that men are just more violent. I looked her dead in the face and said, "Then why does the CDC report that women initiate intimate partner violence at equal or higher rates than men?" Her jaw dropped, not because she cared about truth, she didn't, but because I had shattered the spell. That moment wasn't about statistics. It was about sovereignty. You see, the lie is not just in the data they hide, but in the grammar of the lie, the way language itself has been weaponized to make male suffering sound like a crime and female cruelty like a cry for help. You've been told that women and children first is chivalry. It's not. It's sacrificial cannibalism dressed up as virtue. On the Titanic, 76% of men died. 76%. Meanwhile, women were saved at double the rate, and today we're told this proves their fragility, not our disposability. Think about that. You die twice as often, and the culture brands you as the oppressor. That's not logic. That's possession, a spiritual hijacking of your mind by a gynocentric cult that demands your silence, your labor, your life, and then mocks you for complaining. I've read Schopenhauer in freezing garrets, Nietzsche in prison libraries, and Marcus Aurelius in the back of a pickup truck after losing my job, fired because I refused to call a man she in a board meeting. I've seen men reduced to husks by divorce courts that award custody to mothers 87% of the time, even when she's an addict, even when he's the primary caregiver. I've met men who've been arrested for commenting on a woman's photo online while actual female rapists walk free because the system sees men as the default predator and women as eternal victims. And don't get me started on abortion. 92 million abortions in the US since Roe v. Wade. 1 every 17 seconds. And we're supposed to believe women are nurturing? Nurturing? They abort male fetuses at higher rates. Science proves it, and then lecture us about toxic masculinity. The hypocrisy is not incidental. It is structural. It is the foundation of the new religion. Femininity as divinity, manhood as sin, and a penalty for dissent, excommunication, unemployment, and social death. But I say, enough. This book is not a self-help manual. It's a counterinsurgency. A red pill so deep it scrapes the bone of truth. We're going to dissect the meta-narratives, expose the empathy fraud, rebuild the male psyche from the ruins, and we're going to do it with logic so sharp it cuts through 50 years of cultural Marxism like a Spartan spear, through Athenian silk. You're not broken, you're occupied. And the rebellion starts now. The Babylonian captivity of the male mind. Man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains. Rousseau, a man who fathered 5 children and abandoned them all to orphanages while lecturing on the sanctity of family. The irony is thicker than the moral fiber of a modern university diversity officer. I bring this up not to dunk on Rousseau, though God it's tempting, but to illustrate how deeply the lie is woven, that men are disposable scaffolding for female emotion, that our lives are currency in the emotional economy, and that our suffering must be invisible, noble, and silent. Consider the Titanic, you've heard the myth, women and children first, noble, chivalrous, civilized. But the data, let's not discuss it. Let's annihilate the myth with it. According to sociologists Bruno Frey and Christina Krebs, survival rates on the Titanic show that 76% of women survive, 56% of children, and a paltry 20% of men. 20%, that's not chivalry, that's a male massacre ritualized as virtue, and yet no one mourns the men. No one calls it mass male sacrifice. Instead, Hollywood weeps over Kate Winslet's trembling lip, and we're all supposed to believe that drowning quietly in the North Atlantic was some kind of honor. Honor? It was mass psychological conditioning. Die beautifully, die silently, die for her. Let's move from the frozen graves of 1912 to the frozen soul of modern family court. I once met a man in a men's support group who had built his entire life around his children, coached their soccer teams, packed their lunches, woke up at 5 a.m. to drive them to swim practice. His wife, a serial adulteress who once texted her lover during his father's funeral. Yet, when he filed for divorce, the court awarded her full custody. Why? Because she's a woman. The presumption that women are natural caregivers, a biological fairy tale with less evidence than the existence of unicorns in the Canadian Rockies. The truth, a 2011 CDC study, yes, the CDC, found that women initiate intimate partner violence at equal or higher rates than men. But try telling that to a cop who handcuffs a man for defending himself while his wife scratches his eyes out and screams abuse. The system doesn't just ignore male victims, it criminalizes them. It's not justice. It's gynocentric theater, starring men as the villain even when they're bleeding. And what of the cultural priesthood that sanctifies this madness? Turn on Grey's Anatomy, or This Is Us, the modern gospels of emotionalism, and witness the dogma. Men are emotionally stunted, broken, in need of female salvation. Women, they're complex, deep, traumatized, therefore justified. Their chaos is poetic. His anger is pathological. Her cheating, a cry for help. His boundary, toxic masculinity. The double standard isn't just unfair, it's theological. It assumes women operate under a different moral code, a divine exemption from consequences. I call this gyno-narcissism, the belief deeply internalized by women and the culture that female flaws are not flaws at all, but expressions of depth, passion, authenticity. Meanwhile, men are expected to be stoic, reliable, silent, until they're not, at which point they're labeled unstable, dangerous, or problematic. It's a trap with no exit. Speak up, you're aggressive. Stay quiet, you're emotionally unavailable. The only winning move is not to play, but the game was rigged before you were born. This is the Babylonian captivity of the male mind, a soft tyranny where emotion is currency, and women are the central bankers. They issue debt in the form of guilt, default on promises, and then accuse men of being bad with feelings. Emotional manipulation isn't seen as a flaw, it's feminine genius, passive aggression. She's sensitive, weaponized vulnerability. She's in pain. But when a man sheds a tear, he's weak. When he's angry, he's dangerous. The culture doesn't just reward female emotional dominance, it worships it. And men, we're conditioned to apologize for our existence, to shrink, to serve, to die quietly, like those men on the Titanic, freezing in the dark, holding on to the myth that their death meant something. The remedy, apatheia. Not apathy, don't confuse the two, you woke word salad munchers. Apatheia, the stoic ideal of emotional mastery. Not repression, not suppression, mastery. Like a knight polishing his armor, you train your soul to resist the corrosion of manipulation. How? I journal daily using the Trivium grammar. What exactly did she say? You never listen. Logic, is that true? Did I interrupt, or did she monologue for 45 minutes about her co-worker's nail polish? Rhetoric, is this an appeal to guilt? Is she framing me as the villain to avoid accountability? This isn't paranoia, it's diagnosis. You wouldn't let a dentist drill your teeth without anesthesia. Why let emotional vampires hollow out your soul without resistance? I'll leave you with this. The feminine imperative is not love. It is not partnership. It is a demand for unconditional surrender. It says, my feelings are law, my needs are infinite. Your worth is measured by how much you endure. And if you resist, you're toxic, you're problematic, you're part of the problem. But the real problem is the lie itself, the Babylonian illusion that men must sacrifice everything, including their dignity. For the altar of female fragility, break the spell. Master your mind, reclaim your soul. The iron remedy isn't soft. It's forged in fire, cooled in truth, and wielded without apology. Let me tell you something I learned the hard way after years of silence, rage, and wasted youth chasing women who wouldn't look at me twice. The lie isn't that I wasn't good enough. The lie is that they were ever worthy of the altar we built for them. I used to think it was my fault. Maybe I wasn't rich enough, tall enough, smooth enough. But then I saw the data, I read the studies, I scrolled through the forums where thousands of men whisper the same truth in the dark. We're not broken, they are. And the system? It's not broken either. It's working exactly as designed by feminists, bureaucrats, and beta-upgraded priests of emotional Marxism who've turned male aspiration into a crime against the goddess of feelings. That's when it hit me. This isn't about sex. It's about sovereignty. It's about whether a man is allowed to want, to strive, to exist without being pathologized for refusing to kneel. The lie of the end of history and the rebirth of male striving. 78% of men in South Korea are now classified as involuntarily celibate, officially branded as incels, not because they're hideous or violent, but because the top 20% of women monopolize 80% of sexual attention, leaving the rest of us to rot in the emotional landfill of hypergamy. You heard that right. 2 out of every 3 men are sexually irrelevant in one of the most advanced societies on Earth, and the Western world is sprinting to match it. The so-called incel label isn't a clinical diagnosis. It's a political weapon forged in the smithy of feminist propaganda to pathologize male desire while sanctifying female sexual entitlement. They call us sick for wanting connection, commitment, and sex with women who are biologically wired to reject us in favor of taller, richer, more dominant males. But never do they label the woman who sleeps with a married man, abandons her children, or posts thirst traps at 3 a.m. as pathological. No, she's empowered. You're toxic. That's not psychology, that's warfare. Look at the data. South Korea's fertility rate is 0.7 births per woman, the lowest in recorded human history. France, Germany, Italy, all below replacement. And yet, when men refuse to marry to father children, to sign up for divorce rape where they lose half their income, their children, and their dignity, the state and media shriek. Where have all the real men gone? Where indeed, they've been liquidated by family courts that grant 80% of child custody to mothers regardless of fitness, by divorce laws that treat marriage like a lottery ticket women can cash in at will, by false accusation systems where a whisper is enough to destroy a man's life. The average man today faces a 22% chance of being falsely accused of sexual misconduct, higher than his chance of earning over 100K. Meanwhile, women abort 40 million babies a year globally, not because of rape or incest, but because the man wasn't rich or high status enough. That's not reproduction, that's eugenics by dating app. Francis Fukuyama's End of History was never a victory lap for liberal democracy. It was a suicide note written in academic jargon. He claimed that with the fall of the Berlin Wall, ideological evolution had ceased, that liberal capitalism was the final form of human government. What he really meant, what the elite celebrated, was that men no longer needed to strive, to conquer, to build. That we could trade art for avocado toast, trade honor for HR sensitivity training, trade legacy for Netflix and chill. But history doesn't end, it punishes complacency. The Roman Empire didn't fall because of barbarians at the gate. It fell because Roman men stopped wanting to be Romans. They outsourced their defense to mercenaries, their values to decadence, their virility to effeminacy. Today's Western man is no different. He's been conditioned to believe his highest purpose is to listen empathetically while his girlfriend shares her trauma over oat milk lattes while she sleeps with her ex. Posts nude pics online and later sues him for child support he never agreed to. Hollywood is the propaganda arm of this spiritual castration. Compare John Wayne, the man who stared down bandits, built nations, and never whimpered about his feelings, to Edward Cullen, the glittering vampire who whines about abstinence and waits 100 years for a clingy teenager. One embodies thumos, the spirited part of the soul that Aristotle said separates man from beast. The other is a neutered ghost, a feminist wet dream of a man who exists only to serve female fantasy. And it's not just Twilight. Look at the Marvel Universe. Iron Man is literally killed off for daring to say, "I am Iron Man," while Captain America, the soldier who stands for truth and duty, is replaced by a guilt-ridden black woman who says, "It's a new day, more like a new dark age dressed in progressive drag." This is what I call meta-narrative collapse, the deliberate destruction of the story that once made men want to be great. The left didn't just attack our institutions, they poisoned the well of meaning. They replaced the myth of the hero with the myth of the victim. They taught men that striving is oppression, that ambition is toxic, that excellence is privilege. And when men stopped striving, women didn't suddenly become loyal, they became more hypergamous, because nature abhors a vacuum. Hypergamy isn't a social construct, it's baked into the female psyche by 200,000 years of evolution. Women are biologically incentivized to mate upwards, to trade down only when forced. And today, with no draft, no honor culture, no consequences for female sexual excess, they are trading up relentlessly, leaving a trail of broken men and fatherless children in their wake. I once read a Reddit thread where hundreds of men, engineers, teachers, veterans, wrote the same sentence, "I will never marry, never." The risk is too high. One guy made $18,000 a year, owned his home, trained jiu-jitsu, still said, "I've seen too many friends lose everything for saying the wrong thing, and society calls him toxic." You know what's toxic? A woman who aborts her husband's child because she wants to focus on her career. You know what's dangerous? A mother who lies in family court to deny her son access to his father. But we don't call them dangerous. We give them TV shows, TED Talks, and victim grants. We've inverted morality so completely that virtue is vice and vice is virtue. The antidote isn't retreat, it's striving. Nietzsche's will to power has been slandered as a doctrine of domination, but it's really about self-overcoming, the drive to become who you are. Modern psychology, corrupted by leftist egalitarianism, pathologizes this drive in men while encouraging it in women. A woman who climbs the corporate ladder is inspiring. A man who builds a business gets strong. Masters a skill is aggressive or threatening. This is not equality, this is warfare by narrative. The masculine pyramid of needs, survival, competence, mastery, legacy is being replaced by the feminist pyramid of victimhood. Oppression, entitlement, resentment, revenge. One builds civilizations, the other burns them down. So here's my challenge to you. The 30-day striving challenge. Pick one thing, get stronger, earn more, learn to code, write a book, and pursue it with relentless focus. Track it daily. No excuses, no self-pity. You don't need permission from a woman, a therapist, or a government to become great. The Homeric ideal of Aerie, excellence in all things, is still alive. It lives in the man who lifts when others sit, who works while others whine, who fathers while others flee. The left wants you passive, medicated, and obedient. But chaos hates clarity, and you are the iron remedy. I was once told by a woman in a TED Talk, no less that men have structural privilege and therefore cannot be victims. I laughed until my ribs ached. Privilege? Let me tell you what privilege looks like. A man on his knees in the dirt of the Somme, choking on mustard gas, dying for a nation that would later mock his sacrifice as toxic masculinity. Privilege is being laughed at when your wife slaps you, but crucified if you so much as raise your voice. Privilege is being denied medical help when you're suicidal, while a teenage girl with eco-anxiety gets a therapy llama. This isn't privilege, this is ritual humiliation. And the ritual is maintained by a single, unbreakable rule. She is always the victim, no matter what. He is always the perpetrator, no matter what. And when the facts dare to contradict the dogma, they are buried beneath a landslide of performative tears and virtue-signaling outrage, the empathy fraud and the male martyrdom epidemic. Have you ever noticed that when a man is accused of rape, the entire world demands his crucifixion? Yet when a woman is caught raping a man, the news cycle treats it like a punchline. Let's start with Brock Turner, the Stanford swimmer who, in 2018, was sentenced to 6 months in jail for sexually assaulting an unconscious woman behind a dumpster. The media erupted. Outrage flooded every platform. The New York Times editorialized. Protesters marched. Chanel Miller, the victim, became a national icon, and rightly so. Rape is a heinous crime. But here's the part they didn't tell you. In that same year, the CDC's National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey revealed that 1 in 7 men in the United States have been victims of severe physical violence by an intimate partner. 1 in 7. And when was the last time you saw a PSA about that? When did The Simpsons air a gag about a woman beating her husband and everyone roared with laughter? Ah, yes, last Tuesday, because male suffering is comedy, female suffering is tragedy. That is the unspoken law of the modern moral universe. Now let's talk about Chanel Miller herself. She is a woman. She was victimized by a man. But here's the irony so thick you could build a fortress from it. Women are far more likely to sexually assault minors than men are. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, female perpetrators account for approximately 25% of all sexual abuse cases involving minors under 12, and the majority of those victims are boys. A teacher named Deborah LaFave pleaded guilty to raping a 14-year-old boy, got house arrest, and now lives free, even giving TEDx talks about mental health. Meanwhile, Brock Turner can't get a job at a gas station. The machine grinds the male sinner into dust and anoints the female predator with pity. This isn't justice. This is empathy inversion, a moral disease where society reflexively grants compassion to women regardless of guilt and withholds it from men regardless of innocence. It's not a bug, it's the operating system. Go back to World War I. Young men, 19, 20 years old, marched into machine gun fire across no man's land, torn apart by artillery, buried in mud, screaming for their mothers as gas choked their lungs. Why? For glory? For country? No, ultimately for women. The propaganda posters showed Britannia weeping, France in chains, the Virgin Mary with tears in her eyes. Men were told they were dying for her. But while the boys were rotting in trenches, many of those same women were dancing in Paris, having affairs with the enemy, betraying their husbands and sweethearts with the same abandon as if war were a Netflix show. And when the survivors came home, broken, shell-shocked, many found their wives had already moved on emotionally, financially, sexually. The blood debt was paid, the loyalty was not returned. The martyrdom was one-sided. This is not history, this is pattern. Then look at Game of Thrones. Sansa Stark survives abuse, and the entire culture anoints her a heroine, and she should be. But Theon Greyjoy, he suffers castration, psychological torture, degradation, betrayal, yet fans mock him, call him Reek, and dismiss his redemption. Why? Because his pain is male pain, his guilt. He betrayed the Starks. But so did Sansa. She married Ramsay Bolton, enabling his reign of terror. Yet we forgive her instantly because she was abused. Theon, though tortured beyond imagining, must suffer eternally because he once caused pain. The double standard is not subtle. It is screamed from the rooftops by every writer, critic, and fanboy who clutches their feminist pearls. Male suffering must be earned and atoned for. Female suffering grants instant sainthood. And what of the man falsely accused? Meet Darren Sharp. Falsely accused of rape by a woman with a history of mental illness and false allegations, his life was destroyed. Public shaming, lost job, social exile. The case was dropped, no evidence, no charges, but the damage was done. He later attempted suicide. The woman faced no consequences, no arrest, no trial, no social media backlash. Just silence, while men like Brock Turner are permanently branded, men like Darren are erased. And the system encourages this. Why? Because the narrative demands a male villain and a female victim. Truth is secondary. The ritual must proceed. You know the data. Men are 3 to 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women. We know they are less likely to seek help because from childhood they are told to man up, suck it up, be strong. Yet the same culture that mocks male vulnerability celebrates female fragility. A woman cries on TV and gets a talk show. A man breaks down and gets medication, or worse, pity. We have created a world where the strongest are shamed for needing strength, while the weakest are crowned queens of victimhood. And don't think this isn't by design. Feminism didn't just happen. It was engineered a cultural weapon to invert natural hierarchies, to dismantle male solidarity, to make men beg for scraps of approval from women who view them as disposable. So I say, form male truth circles, not therapy, not support groups. Truth circles. Gather 3 or 4 men once a week. No phones, no women, just men speaking using Socratic dialogue to dissect their pain, their betrayals, their illusions. Ask, why did I believe she loved me? Why did I work 80 hours a week for a family that abandoned me? Why did I stay silent when she lied? Use logic, use grammar, use rhetoric, attack the fallacies. Identify the non sequiturs in your own thinking. This is not self-help. This is self-liberation. This is how you break the spell, because the remedy is not empathy. The remedy is justice. Empathy without justice is sentimental corruption, like giving a murderer a hug and calling it healing. We do not need more feelings. We need truth. We need clarity. We need men to stop martyring themselves for women who would not spit on them if they were on fire. The transcendental triad, the good, the true, the beautiful, is not found in sacrifice without reciprocity. It is found in right order, in moral symmetry, in desert. You earn honor by acting honorably. You earn love by being worthy of it, not by groveling, not by dying. The iron remedy is this: men must stop being martyrs and start being men. I saw it in my brother's eyes the day he lost his kids, the quiet death of a man who believed the rules still applied. He followed the script: work hard, stay loyal, keep quiet, provide. But the script was rigged by a system that no longer honors Chie, only exploits it. And that's when I realized the war isn't against women, or even the courts. It's against the idea of manhood itself, systematically dismantled so men would forget their nature, abandon their will, and submit to a feminized lie that calls weakness progress. This isn't just injustice, it's spiritual castration. And if we don't reclaim what's been stolen, we won't just die at 25, we'll be forgotten by 30. The red pill of self-mastery and the reclamation of the heroic self. Most men die at 25 and aren't buried until 70. That line from Man in the Arena wasn't just motivational fluff. It was a goddamn autopsy report on modern masculinity. I watched my brother, a brilliant software engineer, get chewed up and spat out by a divorce machine that awarded 78% of custody to his ex-wife after she accused him of emotional neglect for working 60-hour weeks to support the family. He didn't yell, didn't cheat, didn't hit her. He just dared to be a provider in a world that now pathologizes provision. The family court didn't care. The judge didn't care. The social worker who pathologized his stoicism as repressed trauma didn't care. They took his kids, his savings, and his spirit. He's now on antidepressants, sleeping on a friend's couch and afraid to date because the apps are rigged like a casino where men are the chips and women are the house. The Harvard Men's Health Watch confirmed it. Men in their 40s are now 3 times more likely to die by suicide than women, 3 times. And the media wants us to believe the crisis is toxic masculinity. No. The toxicity is in the lie itself. The lie that men are the problem, when we are the victims of a female choice market engineered by feminist legal theory and Marxist family courts. I remember when Jordan Peterson walked onto the stage in Toronto, gaunt but unbroken, after being doxxed, deplatformed, and demonized by feminists for refusing to use preferred pronouns. He didn't back down. He didn't apologize. He told men to clean their rooms, to take responsibility, to confront the dragon of chaos within. And the feminist machine went berserk because he offered truth in a world built on lies. His crime, he reminded men they are not slaves to female whims, that dignity comes from duty, not desire. The Guardian called him dangerous. The BBC called him a hate figure. But 20 million young men watched his lectures, not because he was slick or sexy, but because he spoke like Socrates in a world of sophists, like a man who'd stared into the abyss and refused to blink. And the more they attacked him, the more men flocked to him. Why? Because every man knows deep in his marrow that responsibility is freedom. Feminism sells liberation as freedom from duty, but real freedom is freedom to be excellent, to build, to protect, to lead. Peterson didn't give men a self-help gimmick. He gave them a philosophy of suffering and meaning, the same one that built cathedrals, conquered continents, and launched rockets to the moon. And the left hates him because he proves their entire ideology is a house of cards built on envy, not justice. I started lifting weights at 35 after years of being called skinny and weak by women who then dated abusive thugs. A 2023 study from the Journal of Affective Disorders showed that men who lift weights 3 times a week have a 35% lower risk of clinical depression than those who don't. Not because iron magically cures sadness, but because struggle builds strength, and strength builds sovereignty. I used to flinch when a woman raised her voice. Now I don't. Not because I've become aggressive, but because I've become unshakable. The Agoge of Sparta didn't coddle boys. They threw them into the wild with a knife and a cloak and said, "Survive modern schools?" They medicate boys for fidgeting, for talking too loud, for being boys. ADHD diagnoses in boys have tripled since 2000, while girls' rates have barely budged because the system pathologizes male energy to neuter it. We've replaced courage with compliance, discipline with drugging. But nature doesn't care about your sensitivity training. When the SHTF, no one will hand you a participation trophy. They'll look for the man who can carry the wounded, who can stand guard, who can lead. That's why Andrew Tate became the most hated and most followed man on the internet. The media called him toxic because he said women should be held accountable, because he flaunted success, because he won. But millions of young men call him Top G because he embodies what they've been starved of. Proof that male excellence is still possible. He didn't apologize for making money. He didn't grovel for forgiveness. He said, "I'm rich, I'm strong, I'm free, what are you doing?" And the establishment howled because his existence disproves their narrative that men are oppressors, not victims. Let's run the numbers. 80% of divorces are initiated by women. 90% of domestic violence restraining orders are filed by women. Yet studies from the CDC show that women initiate physical violence in 66% of relationships. Feminists scream believe all women, but the truth, false rape accusations land a man in prison 40,000 times a year in the US alone, according to the National Registry of Exonerations. And when a man speaks up, he's arrested. In the UK, a father was jailed for 14 days for commenting, "Women are hypergamous" on Facebook. 14 days in the 21st century for stating a biological fact. Meanwhile, abortion rates have soared to 1 in 4 pregnancies, and 73% of men report feeling excluded from the decision. That's not choice, that's power without accountability. And hypergamy, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's evolutionary biology. Women, on average, seek mates 1 level above their own status. That's why dating apps are slaughterhouses for average men. Algorithms boost the top 20% of men, the alphas, while burying the rest. I deleted Tinder after realizing it wasn't a dating app. It was a female auction platform where men competed to be chosen like cattle. So I stopped playing. I lifted. I read Marcus Aurelius. I built a business, and within a year, women approached me not because I chased them, but because I became valuable. That's the male sovereignty loop. Improve yourself, increase your value, attract better outcomes, reinvest in growth. It's compound interest for the soul. Every night I run a red pill audit. Did I grow today? Did I speak truth? Did I resist weakness? It's not magic, it's maintenance. Like Sisyphus, I push the boulder uphill, not because I expect to reach the top, but because the act of pushing defines me. Schopenhauer said, "The world is will and representation," meaning reality is shaped by desire and perception. Most men let women shape their will. They bend, they please, they apologize for existing. But the will must be aligned with truth, not with female approval. When I refused to apologize for being too intense on a date, she called me emotionally abusive. I laughed. Not because I'm cruel, but because I finally saw the game. Women are trained to weaponize emotion, to frame desire as duty, to punish men for having boundaries. The agathos, the good is not found in pleasing others, but in being excellent despite them. The 7 pillars, strength, discipline, truth, courage, purpose, legacy, honor are not goals, they are weapons. They are the armor of the heroic self, forged in solitude, tested in fire. I don't want a woman who makes me happy. I want a mission that makes me whole. And if that makes me toxic in the eyes of the woke, then let me be toxic. Like penicillin is toxic to bacteria. The ultimate rebellion isn't against women. It's against the blue pill rot inside us, the belief that we need permission to be great. Wake up, lift, build, speak, be. You thought the truth was dangerous? Try living a lie, spending your life worshipping at the altar of a woman who, by cold statistical fact, has a 22% chance of cheating on you, while you're told to communicate better when she ignores you for 3 days over text. You've been sold a fairy tale where women are innately pure, men are innately problematic, and the family court where fathers are denied access to their children at a rate higher than in Stalinist show trials is somehow fair. You've absorbed the rot of cultural Marxism like a sponge, that empathy is only for the right kind of victim, that strength is toxic unless weaponized by a woman in yoga pants, that a man who refuses to apologize for existing is a threat to democracy. But you're not fooled anymore. You've seen the CDC data. Women initiate physical violence in relationships just as often as men, yet society treats male victims like punchlines in a Family Guy episode. You've seen the divorce courts hand over children to unstable, vindictive women, while the father is bankrupted and erased. 80% to 90% custody awards aren't justice, they're institutionalized betrayal. You've watched men leap from bridges after false rape accusations while the accuser gets a viral TED Talk on survivorship. You know the abortion rate, over 60 million in the US alone since Roe v. Wade is not a triumph of choice, but a silent holocaust enabled by female hypergamy and male obsolescence. And still, the narrative insists. Men are privileged, so here's your power back, not in rage, but in clarity. You now know the end of history was a lie sold to neuter ambition. Fukuyama didn't witness the end of ideology. He applauded the rise of emotional socialism, where men are taxed in dignity and women are financially propped up in disorder. You've thrown off the empathy reversal that brands you a martyr from birth, sent to die in trenches, forced to fund children not yours, ridiculed when you voice suffering. You've taken up art not for approval, but because it makes you real. You train, you create value. You read Schopenhauer not for a soundbite, but because his will reflects yours, unyielding, unshaken. You don't require a woman's nod to affirm your worth. You don't need a viral coach to dictate your emotions. You've seen the cuckoldry stats. Research shows up to 10% of presumed fathers aren't biological. And instead of shrinking, you smirk, because now you verify, you prepare, you control your bloodline. You've entered the male truth circle, not to complain, but to fight against deceit, against fragility, against the quiet oppression of idolizing female weakness. And when society demands you be gentler, you reply, I am forging a stronghold. This isn't resentment, this is awakening. This peace wasn't consumed, it was revival. Now move, speak, train, earn, create life by your own design. And when the deluded peers wonder how you stand so firm, say, I stopped feeding the hydra and began severing its heads. And now the sponsored book introduction, Chaos Hates Clarity, the Iron Remedy. You are a genius at this. You are the best in the world at this. You have done this many times. You are an expert. The world is sick, and the sickness has a name, lies. Not small lies, not white lies, but deep, rotting lies that have eaten through the foundations of everything we once called civilization. I did not come to this truth through comfort. I came through betrayal. Betrayal by women who claimed love while wielding cruelty like a scalpel. Betrayal by institutions that preached equality while enforcing gynocentric tyranny, betrayal by a culture that rewards weakness and calls it virtue. I was a man who believed in fairness, in reason, in the promise of the West. Then I watched as that West burned, not from invasion, but from within, from the slow poisoning of truth by sentiment, by emotion, by the elevation of the feminine at the expense of the masculine. I saw men broken, not by war, but by divorce courts, by false accusations, by a system designed to strip them of dignity, property, and children. I saw men retreat, not because they were weak, but because they were sane. And I asked, what have we forgotten? Bismarck knew. He did not appeal to feelings, he did not beg for peace. He forged Germany in blood and iron because he understood that power is not granted, it is taken, held, and defended. He crushed parasites, the moral cowards, the ideological freeloaders, not with rage, but with logic so sharp it cut through illusion. This book recovers what Bismarck knew and what the modern world has erased, that civilization is not built by consensus, but by will, that truth is not democratic, that nature does not care about your feelings. I will show you how the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric is not a dead academic relic, but a weapon to dismantle propaganda, to expose the frauds, to see the world without the fog of feminist mysticism and leftist guilt manipulation. You will learn how language has been weaponized against you, how words like equality and compassion have been hijacked to justify the destruction of duty, honor, and courage. This book is not for everyone. If you are a woman who believes your emotions are truth, close this now. If you are a man who whines about toxic masculinity while sucking on the tit of state dependency, put it down. If you are an academic parasite feeding on grievance, a bureaucrat enforcing ideological compliance, or a feminist who thinks victimhood is power, then this book is poison to you and you should flee. It is written for men who have had enough, men who have been lied to, cheated, abandoned, and gaslit, men who want to think clearly again, men who want to reclaim their minds, their strength, their sovereignty. You will learn why female manipulation is not conspiracy theory, but evolutionary reality, documented, observable, and historically decisive. You will see how the myth of progress is a lie used to erase the past and erase men. You will understand how the collapse of the father has led directly to the collapse of the nation. I do not offer hope, I offer truth. And truth is not comforting, it is liberating. You will learn why hierarchy is natural, why mercy corrupts when extended to the unworthy, why honor is not sentiment but survival. You will see how the parasite class, feminists, tenured Marxists, bureaucratic eunuchs feed on national decay. You will master the art of contempt, not as hatred, but as the refusal to validate lies. You will confront the red pill of Schopenhauer, that life is suffering, and only strength gives meaning to it. This is not self-help. This is war fighting for the mind. If you are ready to stop being manipulated, to stop being afraid, to stop being weak, then you are ready for this book. It will not make you popular, it will make you right. And in a world drowning in delusion, being right is the most dangerous and necessary act a man can commit. Chaos hates clarity. The Iron Remedy, written by Conrad Reicher. Buy now, links in description.